the August 25th, 2021 Mayfield Board of Education meeting. Mr. Snyder, can I have a roll call?
Mr. Panaro.
Here.
Ms. Krosek.
Here.
Mr. Hess. Mr. Hughes. Mr. Teresi.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'm going to, as I do sometimes, go off agenda here and move things around. We're going to start with our community communications. We're going to go over our policy, policy 01691.1, our public participation at board meetings. It should have been available for anybody, I think, at the door. See? If you don't have it, I'm going to read it to you so you understand what our policy is, what we expect, and what we will do with the public participation portion of this meeting. So our public participation at board meetings. The Board of Education recognizes the value to school governance of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. All meetings of the board and board-appointed committees are open to the public. In order for the board to fulfill its obligation to complete the planned agenda in an effective and efficient fashion, a maximum of 30 minutes of total public participation may be permitted at each meeting. Each person addressing the board shall give his or her name and address. If several people wish to speak, each person is allotted 5 minutes until a total time of 30 minutes is used. The period of public participation may be extended by a vote of the majority of the board present and a vote. Agendas are available to all those who attend board meetings. A section of the agenda for public participation shall be indicated. Any person or group wishing to place an item on the agenda shall register their intent with the superintendent no later than 5 school working days prior to the meeting and include the name and address of the participant, group affiliation, if and when appropriate, and topic to be addressed. Such requests shall be subject to the approval of the superintendent and the board president. The presiding officer shall be guided by the following rules. A. Public participation shall be permitted as indicated on the order of business. B. Residents, groups of residents, or staff members having a legitimate interest in the actions of the board may participate during the public portion of a meeting. Participants must be recognized by the presiding officer and will be requested to preface their comments by an announcement of their name, address, and group affiliation, if and when appropriate. D. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 5 minutes duration. E. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No person may address or question board members individually. F. Tape or video recordings are permitted, providing the person operating the recorder has received approval from the superintendent prior to the board meeting and agrees to the placement of the equipment and to abide by the following conditions. No obstructions are created between the board and the audience. No interviews are conducted in the meeting room while the board is in session, and no commentary, adjustment, or equipment or positioning of operators is made that would distract either the board or members of the audience while the board is in session and not disrupt the meeting. We did not receive any requests for recordings except for our news channels. So there will be no recording in the audience. Any phones, if we see you doing it, we will ask you to leave. You'll be removed from this meeting. Let's see. G, the presiding officer may interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant's statement when the statement is too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. Number 2 under G, request any individual to leave the meeting when that person does not observe reasonable decorum. 3, request the assistance of a law enforcement officer in the removal of disorderly person when that person's conduct interferes with the orderly progress of the meeting. Number 4, call for a recess or an adjournment to another time when the lack of public decorum so interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting as to warrant such action. Or 5, waive these rules. portion of the meeting during which the participation of the public is invited shall be limited to 30 minutes unless extended by the vote of the board. Broadcasting and taping of board meetings. Photographic, electronic audio and video broadcasting and recording devices may be used at regular and special board meetings legally open to the public according to the following guidelines. Photographing, broadcasting, and recording meetings are permitted only when all parties involved have been informed that cameras, broadcasting, and/or recording devices are being used. Persons operating cameras, broadcasting, and/or recording devices must do so with a minimum of disruption to those present at the meeting, specifically the view between board members and the audience, but must not be obstructed. Interviews must not be conducted during the meeting, and no commentary is to be given in a manner that distracts board members or the audience. C, the board has the right to halt any recording that interrupts or disturbs the meeting. And D, the board may make the necessary arrangements to make audio recordings of all regular meetings and any special meeting that it deems appropriate. That is the policy, and I just have a couple other notes before we get started with our comments. I want to remind everybody that this is a meeting held in public, not a public meeting. We will adhere to the rules outlined in the policy. We hope that everyone in attendance will be respectful to the person making the comment, as well as the Board of Education. Anyone shouting over or otherwise being disruptive will be asked to leave the building and the premises. There will be no warning. We will have you leave. The public comment section is intended for you to express your views. It is not a question and answer session with the Board of Education members, administration, and/or fellow citizens. We will begin the section with those that have submitted a written request to speak to the Board of Education, and will invite them up in order received. We have placed at the door copies of board policy, as well as a request to provide a public comment sheet that you can complete and hand to the treasurer. That was opened, and it was closed at 7 o'clock at the start of this meeting. We received some that we're going to go through here. All of our meetings are broadcasted and retained on YouTube, so there will also be a video account of this meeting. So, we have 30 minutes. We have 3 people who 5 days before the meeting requested to have a public comment. They were added to the agenda. At the time, the mask mandate wasn't on the agenda. They asked for that to be added. But being that it was already on this agenda now, so we're just going to have them come up and give a talk, give their public participation. We received approximately 15 today at the door. So I'm going to ask the board on a vote if we need an extra 30 minutes, so a total of 1 hour for public participation. Can I have a motion to add those 30 minutes on to the end of the meeting?
Second.
Have a roll call, please. Mr. Panaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Pressley.
You don't have to use the whole 6 minutes. You don't have to. It's just there so we get through everybody. So the first person that came in with, I'm sorry. Before we do public comment, Ms. Gross wanted to make a statement.
That's quite all right. That's quite all right. I just wanted to say something before we got started. Here in Mayfield, we are lucky. We are lucky that people want to be involved. We are lucky that we can listen to one another. We are lucky that we can accept individual differences and differences of opinion. The community, much like the board, doesn't always see things the same way. We come from different backgrounds and bring different skills and different points of perspective to the table. But we work together to find the best common ground we can, staying focused on the students of the district. Every student, every day. This Board of Education has seen a descending vote cast at decision-making time. But when it was, the dissenting member then accepted and supported the will of the board. This is how democracy works. This is how we work together to keep Mayfield strong. Before we begin this evening, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you all who have come here tonight to work together to help keep Mayfield strong.
So our first public participant, Ms. Lisa Thomas. Step up to the podium.
Yeah, girl.
Yes.
Running a timer of 5 minutes. At 30 seconds, I'll give you a high sign, and then when the 5 minutes goes to 0, I will say time is up. So I apologize up front to anybody presenting. you're mid-sentence, so please just, try to restrict your 5 minutes as many people as possible. Is that fair? I don't.
Forget volume.
Sean, can you test the mic?
Testing, testing.
Can you hear her okay?
Yes.
We'll hold on the start of the timer. Bear with us 1 second. We'll start.
Start the timer once we're ready.
5-minute timer and an hour timer upon the start of this.
Yes.
Hard to hear more.
Yeah.
That's how we're having our time.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Thomas, Mr. Snyder, are we ready? Dead zone over there. Time is over.
That's all right. I'll instruct you time, and then go from there. All right. 30 seconds of warning, a hand signal, and then it's 160 time. Okay? Also time's up.
We got 7:13. Start the hour. 7:13, start the hour.
Correct.
Ms. Thomas, state your name and address. And
My name is Lisa Thomas. I live in Mayfield Heights, and I am a parent. I want to start out by thanking Dr. Barnes and the board for doing the right thing to protect this community. Inside the walls of these schools, written on the walls of many of these schools, we teach our kids about empathy. We teach them about leadership and responsibility. We expect these things from them, even when it's hard. But sadly, many of the adults in this community are not setting that example. As you may remember from my email, my brother is the CMO of 2 hospitals in Florida. So I've kind of gotten a direct line to what's happening in the early stages of this 4th surge, and it's not pretty. From the 11-year-old that was counting the days to her 12th birthday to get vaccinated, who then spent it on a ventilator, to the cancer patient on their 3rd round of chemo, unable to get vaccinated yet. They fought hard to beat cancer, but probably won't beat COVID. Then the 16-year-old vaccinated. They had a moderate case, but lost their spot on the varsity football team because they can no longer walk up a flight of stairs without getting winded. They're now dependent on 3 inhalers, maybe permanently. Then there's people with other conditions, heart disease, strokes, that are being rerouted by ambulance to other states. There's no beds, people are in the hallways, people are on the floor. It's, again, not pretty. Our sense of urgency was to make the decision to do everything possible to protect the people of this community before these things happen. Some people are still going to get COVID, but it won't be because all of you didn't do everything in your power to stop it, and we appreciate that. Children admitted to the hospital with COVID are there alone. No parent to hold their hand or wipe their tears. Children, isn't that why we're all here? When we teach our kids to defy rules made for the common good, we're irreparably quashing their ability to have empathy. So, are we going to require extensive proof for these massive religious exemptions that seem to be taking place in Mayfield recently? Or will we leave it up to the kids to explain why wearing a mask to protect others in the community is against their religion? There are members of this community that appear to be recently ordained in proselytizing the online religion of fill out this form. Do unto others however it suits you. Is that the new religion here in Mayfield? In all seriousness, in May, this was okay, and in August, it's suddenly against their religion. You know as well as I do that this is not the case. As a person of faith, this blasphemous display is appalling to me. All the world's largest religions have one thing in common. Love thy neighbor as you would have yourself. How sad each children that their religion involves the complete rejection of this worldwide premise. Only worry about yourself. Whatever happens to anyone else is their problem. You don't have to be a person of faith to find out that this doesn't bode well for future generations. Parents and educators need to lead by example. These backdoor exemptions masks are not. They're a moral one. This isn't about choice. This isn't about freedom. One of the first things that we learn in school about freedom is the right to do what you want, when you want, and where you want, as long as you don't infringe upon anyone else's right to do those things. You can't just walk up and punch someone in the face, because people have the right to be free from bodily harm. And if the air that you breathe, the air that you exhale, affects my health, which in this case it does, it's no longer just about you. Masking is very much a two-way street. And this isn't my opinion, this is science. Can we move towards unity instead of division here in Mayfield? I honestly don't know. One would hope, but we can't do it until we start behaving as a community. We don't all have to think alike. What we need is to acknowledge that we share common social responsibilities. Worrying about the basic health and well-being of your neighbors, that's an easy place to start. God help us, that really seemed like it should have been an easy place to start. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Thomas. Our next speaker is Gina Stephens.
Good evening. My name is Gina Stevens. I live in Highland Heights, and I have a student at Mill Ridge Elementary. I'm here tonight to thank the superintendent and the board, first and foremost, for requiring masks in all of our schools. I'm here to thank you not just for the mask mandate, but for what the mask mandate says to our children about our values. When you required masks for children, you sent the message to them that their health and safety is valuable. And their health and safety is valuable because we value them. As a community, we value all of our children. And when you said, wear a mask, you showed them that. So thank you. I'd also like to thank you for promoting American values. We're going to hear a lot tonight about the freedom of choice. And freedom of choice is a very important American value, but it's not the only American value that we need to teach children. The value of sacrificing for the greater good has a long and proud history in our country. It's hard to even think of wearing a mask as a sacrifice. At most, it's possibly an inconvenience. But even if we were to characterize mask wearing as a sacrifice, we should be teaching our children that sacrifice for others is important and it is valuable. I hope that you will continue to send these very important messages to our children by extending the mask mandate as long as it is medically necessary. Thank you.
Is Miss Lizzie Seidman here? We move on. Mr. Anthony Havel.
My name's Anthony Havel. Can you hear me? I live at 1738 Mayfair in Mayfield Heights. I'm a parent. I have three children in the district. I'm going to go a little off script right now. I found it ironic that your intro was about welcoming public comment. Tonight's not all about COVID. When you silence the community for over a year let me start over. When you silence the community for over a year in regards to their children people are frustrated. Sorry, I'm frustrated right now. You silenced the comments, the public comments, you had your online meetings, and we were allowed to email you, but the public didn't get to hear my email. That went on deaf ears. People want to be heard. People here want to be heard. This board has a long history of not listening to people. you allowed the last superintendent, you know who, he who must not be named, to silence people throughout the district. You are our elected officials. You work for us. The superintendent works for you. You do not work for him. I have faith in Dr. Barnes. I have very high hopes for the next few years. I have no faith in the school board. You do not have my consent to treat my children. A medical professional is required to have informed or implied consent to treat someone who is ill or injured. I have the right to refuse care or treatment, even against medical advice. I am my children's legal guardian. You do not have consent to treat my healthy child as if they are sick. Munchausen's by proxy is child abuse, and I suggest everyone look it up. You also have no right to quarantine my healthy child, nor does the County Board of Health or the CDC. This is nothing but government overreach. This is the United States of America. We have the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution. Read it and read it again. You may not violate the law of this land. All men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. My rights trump your feelings. And I love the hashtag #MyChoiceMayfield. How ironic is that?
We have Mrs. Jamie Rathod. Reread it.
Thank you. My name is Jamie Rathod. I live at 1531 Temple Avenue, Mayfield. If we believe that things are going to get easier, then we haven't been paying attention. It's only going to get much more turbulent. This mask is nothing more than a fear tactic propagated in the name of health. What this mask really is a filthy, bacterial, and viral sweat rag, collecting excrement that is meant to be removed from the body. It is the equivalent of leaving a baby in a soiled diaper for 6+ hours. This leads me to ask, are there any experts providing our schools with biohazard bins to properly dispose or disregard masks? Are there any experts that are providing you with the proper mask wearing techniques, such as changing into a new mask every 2 years to eliminate bacterial and viral contamination? Is anyone instructing children to replace their mask if the children touch it? The answer is no. Therefore, this policy is neither conducive to health, nor is it a barrier of protection, but rather a barrier of marinated, collected filth. Which leads me to my most important question. But first, let me share what is really at stake here. This is Maddie D. Garay. She did the most courageous and noble act. She volunteered to participate in the Pfizer Cincinnati Children's Vaccine clinical trial known as Gamble. Yes, that is the name of the trial, Gamble. And what a gamble it was to her and her family. After Maddie's second dose, she quickly succumbed to a state of failed health and debilitating life-altering health conditions. She is now completely disabled. Instead of being told that she had an adverse reaction to a defective product, she was treated as a defective human being. Pfizer has yet to reach out to her family, whom are absolutely devastated, and her mother is in shambles. So with that being said, are you going to ask us next year to sacrifice our children on the altar of vaccination? Because today it's the mask, tomorrow it's the vaccine. Parents, be aware. These are our children. They do not belong to the school or the state. They belong to us. The only thing standing between our children and a government mandate is their parents. If not us, then who? If not now, then when? They are coming for our children. And let me remind you, these manufacturers have absolutely no liability for the harm in which they have, they're coming for our children. And let me remind you that these manufacturers have absolutely no liability for their products or the lives in which they destroy. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Hello, my name is Chris Mitchell. I live at 662 Robley Lane, Mayfield Village. It's Robley, not Robley. So first off, I'm going to start off with some facts, which at this point no one has even brought up. And it comes from Up to Date, which I'm sure Dr. Barnes you should be well aware of, which is probably the most used medical resource in all of medicine and continuing education. So first off, I'm going to start off with your COVID-19 infection fatality rates for basically children up to 10, which is 0.01%. Oh, no, I'm sorry, that's at age 25. Up to age 10, it is 0.002. You have a better chance of getting struck by lightning. That is COVID. Let's go to the flu. So, between 2010 and 2016, the average annual influenza mortality rate among children less than 19 years of age was just about 0.15%. At any time during any flu season, did you mandate masks and shut down the economy? Not saying that you did, but did that happen across the United States? Let's go to RSV. So, RSV is an important cause of death in infants and young children. Globally, RSV is estimated to cause as many as 2.3% of deaths amongst neonates 0 to 27 days of age, 6.7% of deaths among infants 28 to 364 days of age, and 1.6% of deaths among children 1 through 4 years of age. At any time, did we close preschool or close daycares due to RSV and make those kids wear masks? These are facts. Read them. I don't care if you wear a mask, but you better not care if I don't wear a mask or if someone decides to wear a mask. It's their choice. Don't you get it? And I'm not asking the board members this, but I'm asking everyone here, which one of these board members live in the community, in the district, and have children in the district? Not one or the other, both. Because that is the most important thing on the people that are making decisions on our children. I'm going to end it with my favorite songwriter and lyricist and musician, John Lennon. Power to the people. Thank you.
Next we have Chris, I believe it's Blanco.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak here tonight. My name is Chris Blanco. I live in Highland Heights. I'm a parent of 6 children, 4 in the Mayfield district, and 2 already graduated from Mayfield High School. I have a degree in computer science. I was a software developer for 11 years and have been a software product manager for the last 13 years. I use data every single day to make decisions. In fact, I have a saying in my field, your opinion, while interesting, is irrelevant. This may sound harsh, but in my line of work, opinion and emotion kill products and destroy bottom lines. Data is what drives strong product decisions, and data should be driving your decisions for our school district as well. Instead of sending out an opinion survey on masking and depriving every parent in this district their choice based from that opinion, you should look at real-world data. Not only data from experiments done in clean labs. You see, that's where media gets their mask effectiveness data from. Instead, let's look at real-world data from everyday people, because things behave differently when they're outside of the lab. Researchers at Rational Guard ran a study based on the CDC COVID-19 data from 2020 and 2021 and compared states with mandates versus states without on cases per day. In this study, there were over 6,000 cumulative days under mask mandates and 5,700 cumulative days without mask mandates. Under mandated masking periods, there were 27 cases per day. Under periods of time where there were no mandates, there were only 17 cases per day. That's over a 50% difference. It's an interesting data point, especially since I'm looking for a measure of effectiveness of masks. I would not expect the macro level data to show such a strong favor toward less cases per day if public masking worked. But I will admit, that could be caused by a number of factors. So let's look at another smaller and more relevant study for what we are here for today. A study in Florida done over the 2020-2021 school year looked at school districts where masks were mandated and where choice was implemented. Over the whole year, they determined that there was zero statistical difference between those mandated to mask and those not. In fact, in that study, of the 10 highest case counts, 6 of them came from mask-mandated districts. This theme is repeated again and again when looking at real-world data on mandates versus no mandates. But I'll admit, cases can be fickle and not always reliable, so let's examine deaths. As of August 4th, 2021, 340 kids aged 0 to 17 in the entire United States have been labeled as COVID deaths across the last 18 months. Remember, that is over 18 months. The average flu season lasts 5 to 6 months, and as many as 500 children died during that time period in the US. While no death numbers are ever good, COVID looks nothing more than like a below-average flu season in kids. Have you ever pushed to mask kids during H1N1 or heavy flu seasons? What about any parents out here in the audience? Anyone? Why not? The flu is much more deadly to kids than COVID. Masks are not only ineffective in non-clinical settings, they can be downright dangerous if the wearer is not trained on proper use. In a Georgia study, six surgical masks of school-aged children were sent to a lab. Of the 6, 5 had a total of 11 deadly pathogens on the inside of the mask, including bacteria that causes pneumonia, tuberculosis, and parasites that cause amoebic encephalitis. What about the one mask that didn't have pathogens? That was the control that was removed from the box and sealed before sending to the lab. The other masks have been worn once during an average school day. How much training has your second grader received on correctly using PPE? How often do they change their masks? Wash their hands each time? Have you taken them and had their N95 mask with filter properly fitted? Have you thought about protecting their eyes? Has our school been tested for proper ventilation? Just look at this box of non-medical masks this is from this school, hands out to our kids. Right on the back, this mask does not eliminate the risk of contracting any disease or infection. Even our friends in China understand these don't work. I've heard the angry statements from many parents, but if a mask saves but one child, it is worth it. But what's the price? Have any of you looked at the levels of substance abuse, depression, anxiety, and suicide in our young people over the last year? In teen girls alone, suicide attempts have jumped 51% since 2019. How many kids' lives have we destroyed to save that hypothetical, quote-unquote, one child? I could supply these and dozens more real-world examples to this board on the effectiveness, ineffectiveness, and downright danger of masks. I do want to say that I'm not against masks. I can present you lots of data showing they don't work, but ultimately it's up to you and your family to decide what is best. At least it should be. If we want to get serious about COVID measures, let's get an OSHA-certified industrial hygienist to put a real plan together. I guarantee masking our children won't be part of that plan. Or instead, we can continue with the virtue signaling and making decisions based on opinion. Good companies don't risk money on opinion, yet this board and school system are risking something far greater, our children's health and well-being. Thank you for your time.
Members of the board, thank you for allowing us to speak. My name is Ashley Blanco, and I have been a resident of Mayfield Heights and Highland Heights for the past 20 years. I have 6 children, 4 of whom are in the district right now, and the other 2 are graduates of Mayfield High School. I know a lot of people tonight are going to give expert opinions on this topic. For me, the main topic here is parent choice. There is no one who is a bigger expert on my children than me. I am the definitive expert on Alex, Grace, Nicholas, Jack, Owen, and Connor. And I am here tonight to give you my expert opinion on why I feel that parent choice is the right choice for them and for our district. I want to start by reading something that I hope sounds familiar to you all. Quote, "It is your right to wear or not wear a face mask. We support either decision. Please be respectful of the choice of our students, teacher, and staff." Unquote. That is from August 4th of this year from this district. Man, that quote has really not aged well, has it? Because we went from language such as your right, support, respectful, and choice to a mandate within a matter of weeks. The reason we were given for the decision to reverse parent choice was that it was primarily based on information that we received in terms of feedback from our families. We were also told that we can't debate science. I agree that we can't debate science, not because the science isn't debatable, but because we're literally not allowed to. Because when we try to have a discussion about science with those who are for mandates, we are told that we want to hurt other people's children. Nothing could be further from the truth. And for those parents who feel that way, I want to say I'm sorry that you are so afraid. But my empathy for you does not extend so far that I can logically equate an opinion survey as being the same as science. As my husband, who deals with data all day long, says, your opinion, while interesting, is irrelevant. Parent choice was taken from us because of the survey, so we are told. So let's dig deeper into the survey, since what we are following, that is what we are following and not science. For grades 6 through 12, while it is true the majority of parents checked off that they were going to send their children in masks, the majority were also for parent choice. It was 55% in favor of letting parents decide and 44% against parent choice. And I want to thank those parents who responded in favor of choice. I applaud you for making what you feel is the best choice for your children while still respecting what you think is best for mine. Since you are basing your changes on policy on the survey, please know this. Several parents that I have spoken to were not convinced the survey would be anonymous and therefore were too frightened to even fill it out. This conversation is so divisive that people are actually afraid of retribution on their families and their children. Several students have also stated that they're only wearing a mask because they know if they don't, your COVID quarantine policy will leave them out of athletics and academics. I don't know how anyone justifies that incredibly discriminatory policy. My own son is afraid to not wear a mask for that reason, and so now is being forced to choose between the sport he loves or the mask he hates. Recall that your motto is every student, every day. Perhaps your motto should be every student, every day, as long as you wear a mask. Basing policy on opinion is not leadership. Taking a survey is not leadership. We need real leaders, and we need them to consider what is right for our kids. And what is right for them is to allow their parents to parent them and educators to educate them. I also feel that I would be remiss if I didn't point out the fact that of the 5 members of the Mayfield City School Board, none of you have school-age children. I hope you can see how parents feel frustrated by the lack of representation from our own school board. Not having a voice or a choice is a terrible position to be in. So I will leave you with my last quote, which is from Frederick Douglass, who once said, "It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." Truer words have never been spoken, nor have they ever been more poignant at this moment in time. Let us build strong children now by finding the courage to give parents back their choice. Thank you for your courage.
Blanco. Next, we have Grace Delvecchio.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Grace Delvecchio. I'm a parent in Mayfield Heights. I am educated with a Bachelor of Social Work, an MBA, and have completed the academic portion for a Master's of Science in Mental Health Counseling. I am well-versed in research, scientific studies, and data analysis. I am here because I believe each family should be allowed the freedom to weigh the risks and benefits of any medical device or procedure and to dictate whether masks should be worn on school property. If masks are being worn to prevent deaths, that mitigation has already taken place. Since the first case of COVID in the state of Ohio on January 7th, 2020, 98.2% of all recorded cases resulted in survival. Here in Ohio, 80% of those 65 years and older are fully vaccinated. This is the population we are working to protect. With 80% vaccinated, we have significantly reduced their risk of contracting and dying from the virus. Since the pandemic began, 7 children, or 0.001% of children in the state of Ohio, died with COVID. A study done by Johns Hopkins and Fair Health showed that all of the children that died in the United States from April 2020 to August 2020 had immune problems or were chronically ill. In that period, not one healthy child died. Knowing that 80% of most vulnerable are vaccinated, and knowing that children are at almost zero risk of dying from COVID, Mayfield City Schools does not need to mandate masks for anyone. We must stop fear-based thinking and fear-based decision-making. Paul E. Alexander states, "This really is not an issue of the science, as kids do not spread the virus readily to kids, to adults, to teachers, or to the home. They do not get severely ill or die from this. Moreover, teachers are at very low risk of severe illness or death, and the school setting remains one of the safest, lowest risk environments." Dr. Roger W. Coops documented that there is no clear scientific evidence that masks, surgical or cloth, work to mitigate risk to the wearer or to those coming into contact with the wearer, as they are currently worn in everyday life, and specifically as we refer to COVID-19. In the Journal of American Medical Association, Drs. Desai and Mehrotra explain, "Face masks should not be worn by healthy individuals to protect themselves from acquiring respiratory infection, because there is no evidence to suggest that face masks worn by healthy individuals are effective in preventing people from becoming ill. Most importantly, there are no studies to know the long-term effects on social and emotional development in children. A qualitative study out of Germany looked at over 25,000 students in school. With an average mask wearing time of 4.5 hours daily, multiple impairments reported included irritability, headaches, less happiness, reluctance to go to school or kindergarten, malaise, impaired learning, and drowsiness or fatigue. With 0 studies on long-term effects of masks on children, we cannot, in good faith, continue masking them. We don't know the consequences the masking is causing. There's an urgent need for studies on this subject prior to forcing children to continue wearing masks. We need to stop masking all children now. We must return to pre-pandemic logical thinking. I urge you to allow each family to decide whether they should wear a mask or not. We are all responsible members of our community, just as we were prior to this pandemic. Remove the mask mandates in all Mayfield City School buildings. I'm happy to provide you with additional resources and data at your request. Thank you so much for your time.
Next, Katie Havel.
Good evening. My name is Katie Havel. I live at 1738 Mayfair Boulevard, Mayfield Heights, Ohio. Others will come up here and speak to you using statistics, research, and studies, but I want to talk to you about something different, experiences. I've had many encounters with death, starting at a young age, my father being one of them when I was just 12 years old. But my first personal experience was when I was just shy of 20 and fell ill with bacterial meningitis. I was rushed to the hospital in a coma on my mother's birthday, where the doctor told her I may not make it and she should call in family to say their goodbyes. I spent a month on IV antibiotics. I couldn't finish my semester at John Carroll, and it took me close to a year to recover physically. You see, meningitis is extremely deadly if it's not treated right away. People can die within just 24 hours, and it most commonly affects children. Meningitis can live in the throats and noses of people who never become sick but pass it on to others. It's contagious during the incubation period and for an additional 14 days. Of those who contract it, up to 15% of them die, and nearly 20% of them are left with permanent brain damage or amputations. Those lucky enough to survive can still come out with severe side effects like loss of hearing, kidney problems, lung problems, and even paralysis. I was one of the lucky ones. But mentally and emotionally, I continued to suffer from a constant fear that anytime I got sick, I would die. It was paralyzing for years. This spring, I, along with my entire family, contracted COVID-19. The PTSD came rushing back as soon as I got a positive COVID test. Although physically I only had symptoms of a head cold, my first 6 days were spent in agonizing fear that I would die and leave my husband alone with our 3 children. When the fear became debilitating, I called my doctors, relied on my husband's training, and contacted any family and friends with connections in healthcare for any type of hope that this wasn't a death sentence. At the same time, my husband was sick and our 3 children showed little to no symptoms. One evening, one child had a headache. Another evening, one child had a headache and a stomach ache. Symptoms that we probably would not have even noticed had we not been hypervigilant at the time. At day 7, my worst fears came true and I developed bilateral COVID pneumonia. 2 days later, an ambulance rushed me to the hospital because my pulse ox had dropped to 80%. I was admitted to the hospital for 6 days on oxygen and IV therapy. I was released home on oxygen for another week, and my doctor told me that this could take months to recover from. But I'm stubborn, and I pushed myself, and as many of you saw, just 2 days later, I was at the softball fields with my daughter with my oxygen tank. Now, I don't want any of you to go through what I went through. There was nothing easy about it. And you might think I'm crazy for coming up here and out of this experience and not begging every person in this district to vaccinate or mask up because of what happened to me. But one thing I have learned through the years, our time here on earth is limited, and we can spend it in fear or we can spend it in gratitude. But in continuing down this path of fear, we are teaching our children to be absolutely terrified to go anywhere, including a place where we have always taught them that they are safe. Instead, we are now teaching them it's a place where they could get sick, because anyone around them could be sick. Has anyone considered what kind of psychological damage this does to a child? Teaching a child that breathing the air around them might kill them or someone they love? We are creating a generation of children that are going to suffer from anxiety and PTSD at the hands of adults who are being told a different science every week for the last 18 months. We are instilling a belief in our children that we could catch a deadly disease that they have never been high risk for. In fact, the AAP at the beginning of August stated 340 children who have died in the last 18 months account for 0.6 of all pediatric deaths and 0.06 of all COVID deaths. The amount of fear we are pouring into our children because we are so afraid of an illness that is statistically proven to not put them at high risk is absolutely dangerous. We must understand that while we realize that physical health is important, these precautions may be coming at the cost of the mental and emotional health of our children. Schools are here to educate our children, not to make individual healthcare choices for them. Remember, every day we take calculated risks for ourselves and our children. Getting in a car, crossing a street, swimming in a pool, and yes, even sending them to school is now a calculated risk. Zero risk is not obtainable. With or without masks, vaccines, therapeutics, distancing, or anything else medicine may develop or government agencies may impose. But this is a risk that should be addressed by parents, and the decision should be made for what best fits the needs of their children. I'll conclude with the fact that there are those asking us to listen to the science, but the science is still inconclusive. I could not find 2 medical professionals in the same hospital to give me the same advice. This is why it's so important for parents to do the research that is best for their families, in addition to consulting with their own family doctors. Imagine if there was a policy in the district forbidding you to choose to mask your child.
Time's up.
I have 3 sentences.
Thank you.
This isn't a debate about whether masks work or whether children should wear them. It's about who has the authority to mandate them and these decisions. A mask may be part of the puzzle for some people, and that's okay, and it might not be part of the puzzle for others, and that's also okay.
Aina Aniev? Ariev or Aniev?
Hello, everybody. I just came in because I have to come in. I'm not associated with anybody but my children. My child is attending 7th grade. Another is graduated from university already. But
Please state your name and your address.
my name is Ina Aniev, and I am from Mayfield Heights. I wanted to tell you how my oldest child, who is already graduated from college, was terrified of COVID. She got vaccinated and still was terrified of COVID. She would call me every time she would get a small fever. She would ask me what to do. She was so terrified, I did not know what to do with her. Finally, we sat down, we had a talk. I calmed her down, and probably, it took me 6 months probably to do so. Now, I'm looking at my youngest child. She is in the 7th grade. She was a happy child before. We wanted to mention that half of my family is vaccinated. Half of the family had COVID. My child last year got COVID in the school, brought it, and I got it too. But I was not afraid at all. In fact, every time she would get sick with just flu, she would have a very bad high fever. She would throw up, everything. With COVID, there was nothing. She just lost her taste for a couple of days, and that was it. Yes, I got sick, but I got better. I was not afraid. My husband was. My point is, right now, I was so proud of Mayfield when I heard that you guys are giving a choice to parents whether for a child to wear a mask or not to wear a mask. I was so proud. But then that changed, and I see the change in my youngest child. She is very athletic. She loved school. And today in the morning, I saw her just sitting there and waiting for the bus, no joy. I said, "Why are you so quiet?" She said, "I don't want to go to school." I said, "Why?" "I just don't. We don't do anymore. We don't see each other's faces anymore." This was her answer to me. My heart breaks. You have to give parents choice. Through our whole life, we make choices. I made choice when my mom was sick. We have to make choices every time our kids are sick. I had to make choice when I was faced with a person, with a guy with a knife. I made a choice. I'm alive. Please give us choice. Give us time to make our own choices. The kids are not absolutely, there's nothing, if they're healthy kids, there is nothing that will make them sick. They get sick all the time. They have flu, they have cold. Teachers, I heard, got vaccinated. Most of them. I have a dad who is over 80 years old. He's not afraid. He got vaccinated. So nobody has to be afraid. If you are afraid, you get vaccinated. So thank you very much, guys, for listening to me. And really, I hope you will hear parents that would love to make their choice. Thank you.
Next, we have Carmela Warby.
Hi, my name's Carmela Warby, and I'm from Mayfield Heights. And I'd like to thank everybody that's here. First of all, thank you for letting us speak. And I sent out a flyer, and everybody did so well, I'm really at loss of what to say. All I can say is this. Parents have choices. We are their first teachers. You are your children's first teacher. That's it. What you teach your children will leave and go with them. You teach math, science, and all that stuff. We teach about life. We teach about masks. We teach about fear. And I heard everybody saying, oh God, oh God, oh God. Well, my God did not give me fear. And He gave me a wonderful immunity system that allows me to breathe in and out without a mask. I commend everybody who has children here. If you do not want to mask them, do not send them with masks. Thank you and have a blessed day.
Hi there, I'm Lisa Pilla from Gates Mills, and I'll be short and sweet. I just can't even believe, I grew up in the 70s, and things were so different then, that I just really can't believe we're even talking about this, because I have a big brother that died 3 years ago from the common flu, and he was a mountain climber. He had hiked 2 days before, and he got sepsis and died, and you don't see me hiding under a bed worried about getting flu. It's not the American way. Everyone is so nervous about living, and I find it so shocking. We're going to raise wimps today. And I have a Marine that was on a mission, I didn't know where he was. That's more nervous. I mean, there's no guarantees in life. In the 70s, we didn't have seatbelts in our car. If my mom slammed on the brake and I was in the front, she'd put her arm across so I didn't slam my head on the I'm not even joking. And it's so ludicrous to me because the kids are not, most kids don't get it. I did have the China virus. I felt miserable for about a week, and I did fine, although that's another strange thing. They don't want to give you any drugs to get better. You can't think I have friends who went to Mexico and I could get some hydrochloroquine and Z-Pack, and I did okay. But to send kids with masks, you can't breathe out your carbon dioxide. It's so ridiculous. It's to be faceless like that. And it's been 2 years now. It's time to move on. And everybody stop worrying about dying. Like, that's not, I'm 62 years old. I'm living my life. I still party hard, and I'm not worried about dying. I think everyone needs to move on. Thank you.
Next, Rick Warby.
Hello everyone, Rick Warby, Woodhawk Drive. I see a couple of you members up there, 5 of you to be exact, that have been around a long time. I'm going to speak to you first, and then the rest of the community. I've been in the community here since the 90s. All right, to you guys, one of the ladies even mentioned that at one point you were letting it be a parent choice to wear or not wear a mask, and I kind of applaud you on that stuff. Where is your backbone? I'm looking at you guys. You've been here on the school board a long, long time. I don't know where the flip came from, but this whole mask thing is not about the mask itself. I've heard a lot of good stuff from several people with facts. The person with data management, I totally agree. I've been in finance for over 30 years, and one thing I'll add to that is garbage in, garbage out. You're only as good as the numbers, right? If you get bad statistics, it'll come out with whatever the outcome you want it to come out with. And I think that's a lot of what you guys are being fed. Now, You open up this whole session with being open and honest. A lot of that is it's almost like rhetoric. If you really meant it, the school board, really, you would be more open to what it is now. I've written to the school board early on in the year. And things like Mr. Barnes here. I don't know you. I've done some research on you, and I commend you for being in the position that you're at. I'm sure you've done well in your scholarly career. I hope you're coming here to do the right thing. And I'm looking at you, right? Because I know where you came from, on the west side over there, Lakewood. And when I did some of the research on that area over there, some of you guys here are a member of the Mayfield football boosters, which I know you are. I'm looking at some of you guys here, all right? What happened back in October 2020 was appalling, all right? With these cops, I'm looking at some of these guys here, and I don't know how they can do their job, right? When something like that happened over there, and I didn't hear nothing from you. At least I didn't see anything posted or written. And so I'm hoping, Dr. Barnes, that you're coming over here and you can do the right thing by this community, because my kids are not in the school right now. But a lot of these parents, their kids are here right now. You gotta look out for them. And as far as the statistics, nothing's adding up with these things. We still don't know where this flu came from, right? No one's pinpointed what the cause is. If there's a car accident on the road, one of the first things these cops do, they go to the scene, they get everyone to the hospital, they get them well, but they investigate what happened. We still don't know that. So you guys are being used, right? Hess, get a backbone, please. I mean, I'm imploring for you guys. You folks work for us, right? We put you in office. The next election here is in November. We got a couple of slots open in November. There's some people in here that are running for some of the positions there. We need people with some backbone, because I really feel that some of the pressure being put on you folks, and I feel for you, because the job you do is commendable, and you don't do this for the money, right? You're not in here for the paycheck. You really aren't. And here you are taking this grief from all of us here. And, but I commend you for the job you do, but please, I don't know if you're going to change your minds tonight. You probably won't. You're going through this, but you got to look deep and hard when you go home in the mirror. Get a backbone. Dr. Barnes, I mean, you look like a decent guy. Do the right thing when you're here. I mean, please make me feel proud that I'm still here. I was at 9/11, right? And what happened in 9/11 in New York City, we all came together, all right? I was down there. My kids were in the school at the time. But we came together. But no one got scared. We just got together, we got the facts, and you just moved forward. Please do that, guys and gals. All right? You've been here a long time. Do your job. Thank you.
I want to verify we have 8 minutes left for the hour. Okay. We'll try to get to these 4 that came in before the 7 o'clock. We've got 8. Now we've got 7 minutes. So next is Cindy LaConte.
Thank you for letting us speak. I didn't plan on speaking. I just came as a former employee of 26 years, a resident of 40 years, raised 3 children here, went through Mayfield High School, have 8 grandchildren now. So I'm here as a grandma. And the reason I decided to speak was with Dr. Barnes coming back to Mayfield. He is from Mayfield, by the way. He started here. He was an 8th grade history, social studies teacher, and he came back home. And I think he came back home to be part of this community and to help this community to stay the wonderful school system that we've always been. I applauded the letter that came out that said parent choice. started the meeting today with the pledge to the flag. Liberty and justice for all. Liberty, it's our right to have a choice to put a mask on our child, or grandchildren in my case, or not. Those who have had sad, horrible stories that you have witnessed or heard about, we understand that, we do. I know people who've had COVID, and I have a friend who has COPD, and my fear was that she would get COVID. But it's her choice to go to Costco. It's her choice to put on a mask and go to the grocery store. It's her choice. Please, board members, please, just give parents the choice that you originally gave them. Those that want to wear a mask, we're not taking their right away to wear a mask. But if you mask all the children, you're taking our right away to have that choice not to mask our children. Did that make sense? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Let those that want to wear a mask, mask their children. But those that don't want to mask their children, let them have that right. Let them have that choice. We're counting on you. We know that you can hear us and be there for us. And let's continue to make Mayfield great and let every child have their rights given to them and the parents to decide for each family. Thank you.
We got it here. Mark Leopold.
My name is Mark Leopold. I live right around the corner on 751 Lander Road. Right around the corner. I'm going to be walking home because my wife already left to take care of my kids. So, gosh, it's nerve-wracking talking in front of you guys. So I'm sorry to say, I would have 5 children in this school district. When everything shut down, we made the decision. We talk about parent choice. We exercised our parental right and moved our children where we homeschooled them, and now at this point they're at a different school. My children do not wear masks. Everything is, it feels like before the pandemic. Everybody's healthy there. There's a few that use masks, even a few teachers that wear the masks. I respect that. I know there are people that have families that have family members that have passed away, and it's been traumatic. But it seems like there's one thing that we have our kids really clear on is the dangers of tyranny. And this is like someone said, everything's been, you have the statistics. This isn't really for the children, it's for the adults that have the fear that are driving the children. The statistics bear that out. So for the people that are wearing masks, and everybody in the room, all I urge you, and for you, and for all of you especially, do your research. Don't just look at one side of the fence. Go to get your news sources, your information from places you normally wouldn't, so that you can find out the truth of what's going on. Because there's a bigger picture going on here. And for those of you who are on the board, you're all good people. I miss my principals from the elementary school and the middle school. Amazing people. They were good to my 5 children. All 5 of my children would be here right now, but they're not. And then that was with a great cost. There's a cost to that. But both my wife and I, we have our advanced degrees I have my advanced degree in counseling, working with adolescents, My wife is a therapist. We know what this stuff does to kids. And singling out kids who refuse to wear masks, because there'll be a few who will fight, that'll be very traumatic. You want to consider these things. So I respect all of you guys. I just want to urge you to reconsider, because it won't get better. It's a slippery slope. All of you guys know that. You all know that. You know that the vaccines are coming down. This is a big, there's a lot of money involved. These guys are under pressure. So if we don't take a stand now, and I took a stand, I pulled my kids out. I want to bring them back. But I knew this was going to rear its ugly head and come back around. The Delta variant isn't as lethal as COVID-19. We all know this. We know this to be true. So I'm glad, and by the way, those of you who think this way, who want to fight the masking, you guys aren't, you can see you're not alone. You're not by yourselves. You need to organize, because the people that want the mask, they're very organized, because the government's bringing it down. So I miss my principals. I'd like to have my kids come back. But right now, we made what we believe is a better choice. And I wish all of you guys the best. And Mayfield's still a wonderful place, but you can't let this stuff creep in. It will not get better. That's all.
We have one more left that came in before the 7 o'clock deadline we're going to go with. We're going to finish this up. Heather Kimmel.
Maybe you got 2 more.
I came in before 7. No one took the document from me. I was here before the Pledge of Allegiance and everything, so you will hear.
Mrs. Kimmel.
You will hear. I'm the person filing the lawsuits against all of you, and everyone will hear.
Hi, I'm Heather Kimmel. I live in Highland Heights on Colony Drive. I didn't plan to speak tonight, but I decided to. We moved our family to the Mayfield School District in 2019 because of the schools. We'd heard really great things about the schools here. So my choice, Mayfield, for sure. There is a lot dividing our community right now. I'd like to just say a few words about what I think we have in common. I don't think that anyone in this room is my enemy, and I hope that you don't think that I am your enemy either. I so appreciate the motivation of every single person who came out here tonight. The sincerity in the room is palpable. We love our children, okay? And we all want our children to be able to stay in school. In the before times, right? This is like the stuff of science fiction. I couldn't even imagine sending my child to school in a mask. Why would you? The facts are out there. You can read the facts. They're readily available. I'm not going to repeat them right here. As we've seen across the country, I do think that universal masking might be the only thing that helps keep our children in school for anything resembling a normal school year. It's okay to hate it. I hate it. I hate wearing the mask, and I hate seeing my children wear the mask. But I am asking us to come together on this to keep our kids in school. I'm not particularly concerned about my children dying from COVID. I'm not particularly concerned about my children getting incredibly ill from COVID. I am concerned about keeping my children in school. I want them to be with their friends. I want to see them to continue to play sports without having to be quarantined or without seeing seasons of sports go by unplayed. And I want to keep them on track to be successful adults. I think it's what we all want for our children. Thanks for letting me, thanks for giving us the mask mandate. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, board, we do have 4 more. We'll need a vote to add 20 minutes. Can I have a motion?
Second.
Roll call.
Norm.
Yes.
Rosa.
Yes.
Correct.
So we have next, Nell Cohen.
Thank you, everyone, for coming and for listening. I had something totally different on my mind. I'm wearing a mask because I am so confused as to whether we should wear masks. We have people wearing masks over here. They don't want to stick together. We have people here sporadically all over.
Name and address.
Okay. We talk about whether or not...
Name and address, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. You don't know who I am. I thought everybody did. My name is Leslie Cohn. I'm on Woodhawk Drive. My husband and I came here today because it's her first day of our granddaughter's going to preschool. She's not going to preschool here or any place in Mayfield Heights, though. We do reside in Mayfield Heights. Welcome. You're new here. Our kids have, we've been in Mayfield Heights since 1987, 86 maybe even before that. It's very concerning to us that the school makes decisions on behalf of the parents. And we know COVID's out there. I wear the mask because I really honestly don't know who to believe. That's why. The kids, though, I was very concerned because my granddaughter's 4, almost 4, and I was very concerned about her connection. Think about her age group. How would she be? Would she be able to reach out to other people? Would she be able to talk with other people? Would she be able to make friendships with other kids? So I think the school board has to take that into consideration also. Can the children act like kids? When we were driving up, we saw a lot of children playing sports. They were outside, yeah. They were not 6 feet apart. The wind could blow and maybe they can get COVID or whatever's going on here. It's just, we have to look at this with some common sense. You guys are all sitting near each other, that's probably why you're wearing your masks. But when you go home and you're with other people or you're at school or somewhere else, maybe, are you all wearing masks all the time? I mean, we have to ask, and I also know too, because my daughter is a doctor. And I ask myself, why do doctors and nurses wear masks if they don't work? Because at one point we were told, masks don't work, don't buy them. And all of a sudden it was, oh, we better get our masks. But that was because people were buying up masks like they were buying up Lysol. So they were afraid there wouldn't be enough to go around. So we can't believe anything. But my question too is, if we want our children to be safe, isn't it up to us? They're our kids. They're not owned by the state. They're not owned by the school. These are our kids. And I was going to talk about something else, but I just decided this is more important. Everybody's hopefully wanting to hear about the mask mandate. What made the board change their mind? Is it because this is a public school and they won't get funding? I don't know. Why all of a sudden do we do this turnaround when the parents did have a choice and all of a sudden they don't have a choice anymore? What is it about? That's the question. There's more questions to be asked. Thank you for your time. I'm going to end quickly because I know you have other people and I think they have better things to say.
Good evening, my name is Stephanie Pyle. I live at 1090 County Line Road, Gainesville. I just want to state my opinion that I support and respect allowing each and every family the opportunity to make individual decisions for their own children in regards to wearing a mask. With the availability of COVID-19 vaccines to all teachers and staff and the proven low transmission rate from children, I feel a mask optional policy is safe. Additionally, studies have shown that long-term mask wearing can have negative physical, educational, and psychological consequences on our children. Given this, it is important to allow each family to make a decision that aligns with their individual circumstances. I also want to be able to have a free choice that's right for my kids, especially when it comes to their health. I implore you to consider the voice of the parent population for consideration before final decisions are made. Thank you.
Delia Popovici, we had a question, but it's not on our agenda. You have to be talking something on the agenda, so can you just give a response on this question if you have?
Am I allowed to ask it in here though?
It's not an item on our agenda. You have to be able to put this on our agenda 5 days before. But somebody will get you an answer.
You can answer any of them.
Our next and final is Tori Morris.
Hey, can you guys hear me? My name is Tori Maris. I'm a parent of a student here. I'm going to say everyone that has spoken to you today has spoken to you as if you have some form of authority to do things, which you don't. It's arbitrary power, what you're exercising. And I can say that I saw that when my daughter started school and I got my first email from you, my first one. Do you know what it was? We're having a meeting, but we're turning off comments because of COVID. So I responded and said, can you tell me how you can catch COVID through the internet? No one responded, and I never got an email through that email address again from any one of you. But that was okay, I was busy. I was in Washington, D.C. working, so I couldn't really dabble in it. I thought I'll just wait. Well, everyone's been giving you science, and I want to give science too, before I tell you other things like science, like masks. That there was like tons of pictures of you guys at like parties just a couple days ago, no masks, right? See that? Other facts, right? Monday, I came to the school and handed over to the principal of the high school a letter that I emailed all of you Saturday morning, that I put you on notice that I'm suing you. Principal said I'm running a school with the board. We come to the board. Guess what, guys? I'll tell you what. Let's go back in history. Mask mandates already happened. 4 feet apart then. Now it's 6 feet, right? They enforced them so hard that they even shot someone to death in San Francisco for not wearing a mask. Do you remember that history? You should peruse the Library of Congress. You'll be surprised what you'll find. And what happened was, one person took a picture of people like you that put out the mandates, partying by a boxing match, no masks. Guess what happened then? Yeah. Exactly what I saw on Monday when I came to the school board. Lady greeting me at the door, no mask. Next lady assistant to the superintendent, no mask. And the assistant superintendent, no mask. Rules for thee, but not for me, right? So, speaking of science, just want to say, your teachers are probably super spreaders. I don't know if you guys read some rag called the Lancet Journal, the Bible for doctors. Came out with a nice article, research from Oxford, real science, Lancet Journal. A study by the Oxford University Clinical Research Group published August 10th in the Lancet. Fully vaccinated people carry 251 times the viral load. The study focused on healthcare workers who were unable to leave the hospital for 2 weeks. The study showed that fully vaccinated workers, about 2 months after injection, carried and transmitted the virus to their vaccinated colleagues. They also passed the virus to unvaccinated people, including their patients. Science. This is science. I don't know where you're getting your science, because, I have a transcript of the superintendent, who, by the way, doesn't live here, has 2 years to move back, right? Totally against the bylaws, but exceptions, right? So, we see here, we transcribed your video that you turned off comments on. Pre-K to 5, CDC study says. Actually, I got that CDC study right here, and you know what it says? Masks for children that are that young are detrimental and have 0 efficacy. Well, so I want to know what CDC study you pointed to, because I got it right here if you want it. Passing, young, can't be unvaccinated, get the opportunity. Really? Pfizer didn't approve any vaccine. That was actually approving the same vaccine under a different name to conduct a different study under the same UAE. But fake news, you know? Kind of like real news. Like, who's for Naro? You work for the Ohio Lottery. So funny. The lottery winner for a child getting a vaccine. So brave, right? Was one from this school. I don't know. Kind of sounds like a conflict of interest right there. We've got tons. I've got tons of evidence right here. IRS forms, CRT stuff, BLM, do the parents know that Mayfield High School funded a CCW event? I mean, I don't know. Open societies, anyone? Because that's what's up. George Soros everywhere. What you're seeing here is righteous indignation. Do you know what that means? In legalese, that means I have the right to be angry because it's reactive anger to maltreatment. So, guys, Mayfield Parents Union at gmail.com. I'm not going to ask you to do it. I'm going to remove each and every one of you by law because I will find you guilty of misconduct because I actually have a national specialist who was in Iraq and other places that talked about masks. Those are the real specialists, environmental toxicologists, and all of you are being removed by law.
No taping. Not supposed to tape.
Respectful.
Oh, just for one, not for everyone, what's going on?
You're supposed to be quiet, listen to everybody.
Oh, I'm just pointing something out
And I
for our
listen to
meeting.
garbage all night long, guys.
So, I can do whatever I want,
Thank you,
freedom, right?
everybody, for your comments. I appreciate you coming forward and making comments. Can't come to order, you'll be escorted out. I'll escort myself. So we're going to now move to our superintendent announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like to take a moment to thank everyone for being here tonight. Certainly, as you heard from the testimonies from everyone, this is not easy. We are all dealing with this. It's difficult. We're trying to do the very best we can and be respectful of everyone's opinion and voice. Certainly, making sure that we maintain the focus on students and their future. They deserve our very, very best, and we're going to continue to strive to do that. But again, thank you for being here and sharing your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. We'll go to the president's announcements. I have one. I received from Ryan Pendleton from the CFO of Akron City Schools and Thomas Hostler, the superintendent of Perry Schools, asked me to read this and present this at one of our early board meetings. It says, Dear Mr. Fernello, we are writing on behalf of Michael Barnes, superintendent and members of the Fair School Funding Plan, FSFP team. We've had the distinct pleasure of working with Michael since we all began with our Fair School Funding Plan work group on November 15, 2017. During his 3.5 years as a vital team member, Michael has established himself as an outstanding educational leader and passionate representative of your school district, community, and advocate for all Ohio students. As a member of the FSFP work groups and ourselves, we wanted to commend and recognize Dr. Barnes for his outstanding contribution towards creating and advocating for Ohio's new state funding formula. Without the contributions of every single member of the SFFP work group, this historic achievement would not have been realized. Speaker Robert Culp and then Representative John Patterson assembled a talented group of experts, staff, and volunteers who are committed to supporting this effort and work towards a process that ensured all Ohio students achieve their greatest potential. All of the treasurers and superintendents across the state, Dr. Michael Barnes was selected to join this group in part because he has garnered the respect of his colleagues statewide and fellow leaders in education, as well as his vast knowledge in his field and experience as a leader. The overwhelming support from across the state this work group received is a direct result of the measurable efforts of its members. Its bipartisan approval in the House as a standalone bill and its inclusion in the 2021-2023 biennial budget is a testament to Michael's efforts with this group. None of this would have been possible without Michael's continued work, contributions, and the district support of the SFFP work group. I'm going to paraphrase a little bit here. They want to thank us for allowing Dr. Barnes to be part of this work group, and I think Lakewood should also be thanked for allowing him to be part of this work group. And please know that this took a Herculean effort to create, present, testify, and advocate to get this plan passed. And Michael did an outstanding job of balancing the demands of serving students and families in the school communities while taking on his additional responsibility. We're so grateful that he did. Throughout this process, Michael's work ethic and passion for serving in the FSFP work group was second to none. So they asked me to pass this medallion along. It's a challenge point. Dr. Barnes. It is from the Buckeye State. It's the Ohio State House. So I am passing this on to you. This time we're going to take a quick 10-minute recess. All right, let's get back into call the meeting back into order. Our next item is our number 7, other board business. So item A is the
Check.
So the other item is our mask requirement resolution, preschool through 5th grade. I have a motion for this. So moved.
Second?
Before we have a vote, are there any comments?
I just wanted to say that for the last school year, we were wearing masks. And while we did have some students and staff members who came down with COVID, there was no indication whatsoever that any of it was contracted in the school district. And if there were a few, there was no massive spread as a result of it happening. So, that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Any other comments?
Yes, thank you. I just want to take a minute to add my thoughts. We understand your thoughts and your feelings. We as a board have the same thoughts and feelings. None of us like the word mandatory, but our thoughts are to keep the kids, the teachers, and the staff safe. Really, there is no answer. For each of you that are protesting mandatory masks, we have parents who contend masks will keep their children safe. Who do we side with? You or them? We're in a no-win situation. So as a board, we must unify with our superintendent, who takes his position very seriously. Dr. Barnes has given deep thought over these decisions. He refers daily to CDC, the state, the hospital, to see if we can find the best choice to keep us safe. Are masks uncomfortable? Of course. We understand the good and the bad. But at the same point, you have to ask yourself, what would you do to save your child's life? If your child was drowning, would you jump in and save their life? Of course you would. If they were sick in the hospital with pneumonia and COVID because they didn't wear a mask, or the child sitting next to them didn't wear a mask, who would you blame? Again, no right answer except saving a child's life. Thank you.
All right. we have our motion, we have our second, we need, roll call.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
My conscience dictates that I vote yes.
Mr. Tressi.
Definitely yes.
Thank you. Our next item B is a mass requirement resolution for 6th through 12th grade. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll take Mr. Hughes as the motion and Mr. Tressi as the second.
Thank you.
Any comments? Discussion? There being none, we have roll.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
No.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes. Again, my conscience dictates that.
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Thank you. And passed. I just want to say just real quick. I had this whole big statement I was going to make earlier, but I'm going to paraphrase and just come down to what I really want to say. When this tough decision was forced upon the administration and Board of Education, the goal was and always will be to keep children safe in school and learning. If that means we are on the side of caution, then so be it. And no one is in this to hurt children. So after everything we've heard tonight, after this vote, I just want to say thank you to our administration, staff, and my fellow board members for weeding through all the distractions. Thank you for doing what you have always done, what you get paid to do, and what you do best. And that is educating our children and helping them grow into responsible, respectable, well-rounded individuals. Thank you. So next item is our superintendent's consent agenda. We have items A through P. Have a motion for approval. Second.
Second.
Mr. Schneider?
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Item 9, other superintendent's
I
business.
already heard my yes. I just used it.
Yeah, we got it. Other superintendent's business. Letter A, yellow school bus stops, fiscal year 2021, 2022. Can I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Next item is item B, 2021, 2022 Chromebook repair fees. Need a motion for approval. Second. Roll call.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Item C, Ursuline College and Mayfield City Schools partnership for the 2021-2022 school year. I'll make the motion. Is that a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Final item under this section, D, addendum number 1, certified additional training. I need a motion.
So moved.
Roll call.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Next section is 10, treasurer's report. Item A, the financial statements for the July 31st, 2021. Motion for approval.
So moved.
Second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Thank you. Item B, financial transactions. Have a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second. Roll call.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Final item under this section is C, donations. I'll make the motion. Can I have a second? Roll call.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
And Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Under other treasurer's business, item E, the minutes from our regular board meeting of July 14, 2021, and our special board meeting of August 13, 2021. Need a motion.
Second.
Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
And Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Item B, acknowledgement of groups for insurance purposes. Need a,
So moved.
Second.
roll call.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Letter C, our 2021-22 cell phone stipends. Motion for approval.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Thank you. Item D, the disbursement of funds for the Renner Tillman Scholarship. I'll make the motion for approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Letter E, connect service agreement for St. Francis of Assisi School. I'll make the motion. Do I have a second? Roll call.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Letter F, a connect service agreement for fiscal support. Need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Item G, our Discovery Education Agreement for St. Francis of Assisi School, fiscal year 2021-22. Motion for approval.
Second.
Quick question for clarification. These are all, we're acting as an agent for St. Francis.
That's correct. Anytime you see one of our local non-publics, these are state dollars that we act as a fiduciary. We hold them and we adhere to the standard of they cannot be used for religious purposes, which is why you as the public school district elected body must act on these contracts. So yes, we're just simply a flow through.
I just want to make sure that the audience is doing that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
And Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Item H, PSI Affiliates Inc. Agreement for St. Francis of Assisi School for 2021-2022 school year. Need a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
And Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Thank you. Next item, item I, designation of eligible depositories of active and interim funds. I'll make the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
And Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Item J, the Wildcat Sports Fitness Facility rental rates.
So moved.
Bless you.
Motion, we need a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Final item under this category, okay, agreement for the provision of school resource officer by the Village of Gates Mills, City of Highland Heights, and Mayfield Village. I'll make the motion. Do I have a second?
Second. Third.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Yes. Roll call, please.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
And Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
The next item is addendum number 2, other board business. We have 2 memorials. There is no action to be taken. Ms. Jean Woody passed away at the age of 79 years on July 30th, 2021. Jean was an instructional assistant at Millard Elementary School, where she retired in 2017. She had worked for the district for 23 years, and had also been a lifelong volunteer for Mayfield City Schools. Condolences are extended to the family of Jean Woody. Next, we have Mary Gertigood, who passed away at the age of 90 years of age on August 19, 2021. Ms. Gertigood served Mayfield City Schools as the Director of Adult Education from 1971 to 1992, and was also a Mayfield Hall of Fame inductee in 2021. Condolences are extended to the family of Mary Gertigood. At this time, we are going to move into executive session. I need a motion for executive session.
So moved.
Second. out of the executive session, there will be no action other than for us to adjourn our meeting. So I appreciate everybody being here tonight. Thank you for your
We need to
time.
take roll call, Ms.
Oh, roll call.
First.
Sorry, go ahead.
And we're going in for the purpose of, to discuss the employment of personnel under ORC 121.22G1. Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
And Mr. Tressi.
Thank you.